Good afternoon, morning, evening. I know I just confused all of that, but hi, everyone. Okay, so I think most of us should be in the room by now. I just wanted to say hi. My name is Anissa. I'm wearing a yellow dress, gold necklace, and my hair is tied up. And I am so excited to be with you all on this screen. I would have loved to be with you all in person, but that could be in our next few sessions. I will start off the session by just giving you a brief introduction about me, who I am, where I am, and all of that. So let's begin. So my name is Anissa Ismail. I'm 32 years old and I'm from London, hence the accent. But I'm currently living in Abu Dhabi, and I've actually been in Abu Dhabi, the UAE, for going up to 12 years. I am a former early years educator, and I gave up teaching to pursue my dream of becoming an entrepreneur. And I am also an author, a TV show host for young children, and a public speaker. Well, I'm working on the public speaking part. So just to tell you a little bit about what I do. So I founded the Unplugged Initiative, which was originally known as Kids Unplugged. The Unplugged Initiative is a platform where we promote digital wellness for young children, teens, and adults. We provide solutions through our programs and products that can make being off your screen very accessible for everyone around us. And we are a solution-based business. And so essentially, what we do is we bring about the awareness of exactly what is happening when young children are introduced to their devices. Teenagers have to do all their homework and stuff on their devices, and adults such as us have to spend hours on our devices, and just basically how to balance all of that, because it can be a lot, especially as fast pacing as the world now is. So as our subject for the day is titled Screen Fatigue, I'm pretty sure a lot of you may have heard this terminology. And so before I go on to explain it all, I would like to know, I'd like for you all to take a moment to think what comes to mind when you hear screen fatigue. And if you feel free, if you like, feel free to kind of, share your thoughts on just what this is when you hear screen fatigue. And Tiffany, who I'm grateful for helping me, is going to be sharing some of your thoughts as well with me. Okay, so I know you've had some time to think about this. And what I'll do is I'll keep the chats and the questions for later on, and we'll figure out how to post it all for me to kind of get to the chat. Again, bear with me. I'm kind of learning how to utilize this platform as we go along as well. So okay. Oh, somebody shared here. I can see. Screen fatigue occurs when my eyes and head are hurting. Exhaustion, lack of focus, black box, the desire to be done and away from a screen of any size. Falling asleep at the keyboard due to looking at a computer screen for so long. Yep. That's also another one. Eye strain and headaches. Yeah, you guys are all pretty on board with that. When I hear of screen fatigue, I think of symptoms of spending too much time online, staring at screen, headaches. Yes. Okay. So we're on track. So we're all on board with what's happening when you hear screen fatigue. All right. So let me break it down. What it actually means is it's actually in the tech industry, it actually has a name called computer vision syndrome. I mean, screen fatigue is what they call it, but realistically, it's computer vision syndrome. And it happens when the muscles around your eyes become really tired and really exhausted, and we end up being affected. Sorry, just a second. We end up being affected by using our screens for far too long. And normally when we are feeling this screen fatigue, for a lot of people, they can kind of break it down as like a dullness or like something that's just like there, but not really there. And they just try to like maybe close their eyes for a little bit and open their eyes back up. But it's a real thing. Screen fatigue doesn't just go away by sleeping and then waking up the next day and repeating the same pattern. It can actually get really, really, really bad if it's not treated and if it's not something that you are aware of. What causes screen fatigue? This, as people in the industry, we've kind of come to know that, like, especially in the tech industry, screen glare, bad lighting, bad posture, the way we're sitting. If you've had vision problems, do some of us remember when we were younger and our parents used to be like, if you sit too close to the TV, your eyes are you're gonna go blind. I haven't heard anybody say that, and we're all staring at our screens on our phones and our laptops and stuff. So it is how close you are to the screen really does affect your eyes. Poor ergonomic, I always struggle with that word, guys, so just bear with me. Poor ergonomic setup, which I'm going to actually go into what that word means and what that actually means. Sitting too closely to the computer screen or a device, viewing the screen from the wrong angle. Sometimes we could be looking at it from like different angles, or if it's on our laps and we're like hunched over and we're looking at it, or just constantly staring at the screen with no break whatsoever. These type of things over period can cause screen fatigue. Have you ever felt any of these symptoms? I'm going to actually break down the symptoms. And if you have, the next couple of slides are for you. So the symptoms, so these are, I spoke about what caused them. The symptoms are blurred vision, dry eye. Side note, a lot of people keep, eye drops around their desks and stuff sometimes, and it just becomes such a normal thing to do, but it's not normal for your eyes to be dry consistently. So that's because we have such an accessible solution for it, we think it's not a problem, but really it is an issue. General eye discomfort. Sometimes you find yourself like looking around and just your eyes just causing you discomfort. Itching or red and tearing eyes. A dull headache. This is something I think a lot of us, even some of my clients and I, have discussed. Sometimes you'll have a headache and you'll think, oh, I haven't had enough water. I need to drink more water. But it's not just you being dehydrated. It's because you genuinely haven't had, enough time to be off your screen. This constant, not just looking at your screen, but this constant need to be focused, and the way that it affects your brain is why you're constantly feeling like you have this headache, and it just comes and goes. Yes, we may take some painkillers to get rid of it, but again, it is a symptom of screen fatigue, one that I always say we shouldn't ignore. And doctors have also said if you feel like you are having far too many headaches, number one, definitely get it checked out, but your screen does does play a huge role on it as well. And then general tiredness. A lot of us can agree. Sometimes when we spend a lot of time on our devices, on the screen, we're just exhausted. We're all, or as the Brits say, we're knackered. We're all tired. And it's like, well, why am I so tired? Why am I so, why am I, feeling this way? We're feeling this way because because of how much energy it takes to be on our screens, and the amount of muscle and body, the posture of our body that is affected, because we're always like tensed. And as I'm talking, I like for us to just take a moment and just to breathe and just like roll your shoulders a little bit, just we don't even realize that we're sitting so tensely when we're watching something. So just take a moment, take a deep breath, let it all out, stretch it out a little bit, so that you're just, you know, not in the same position, especially when we're watching things. We're always kind of like, you know, so into it. So these are some of the symptoms of screen fatigue. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us can say that we've experienced one or the other. Okay, so the teacher in me and also the unplugged version of me, which really does not like to be online for too long, I would like to set you all a task. I'd like you to grab a pen and a paper. Literally, oh, I've got the screen on so you can't see. But I'd like you to grab a pen and a paper. And I'd like you to write down a few things that you do to get through your day. So what are you currently doing if you are working remotely and have to be on your screen? What are you currently doing? Like, for example, if I am working remotely, I make sure I'm not working at home. I know it sounds crazy, but I love to go to like a coffee shop. So I change my where I am, just so that I can focus and like get work done. How that affects me, I mean, it helps, but I don't know if it's the most helpful thing. So that's an example. But it is now 11 past. I'll give you until 18 past. And if you can write it down on a note, on a paper and using a paper and pen, and then whoever feels free to share can, you know, just kind of type it out for us and share. So I'll give you some time to think and write that down, and then we'll discuss. Okay. So thank you all so much for taking some time to write it out. I will be reading some of your answers on here, and feel free to share in the chat as well so other people can kind of take some ideas, and then I will be saving some of them as well. So Nicole, thank you for sharing. She said, one of the things that helps me is a Chrome browser extension called Stretch Reminder. You can set it for 30, 60, 90 minutes, and it pops up all over all screens and reminds you to stretch, giving you an example to try. I think that's wonderful. I love that. Another one from Hillary. The biggest thing for me has been taking gardening breaks during the day, seeing something 3D and putting my hands in soil. Very re-energizing. I love that. That's amazing. Just to even be outside is incredible. One of the things that helps me is to go outside and just walk around the yard. I have a hammock and sometimes just relax over on my lunchtime there. Thank you, Lynette, for sharing. I can't stress how important it is to get outside, especially if you're spending so much time on your devices. I use the Focused app to do body doubling, so I stay productive during the day. I also go for a long walk every day. Shannon, thank you for sharing. We'll have two more and then we'll continue. Raina, I make sure I stand up and walk around the house when I telework. And my Apple Watch tells me to stand up or move, which helps too. Or I will just stand on my deck and breathe. That is so important. I love how this is all around just getting out. And Judy shared and said, thank you. That's a great idea. Thank you all for sharing. I will continue with the presentation, but, you know, feel free to kind of share and have, you know, some tips for each other, because you never know who's reading and who might think I need this as well. Okay. So I've got you covered. I've got some tips to overcome screen fatigue, and I think it'll help you be far more productive. So I did mention earlier about ergonomics. Ergonomics is an actual science to how you set and arrange where you are working. Sometimes we just get the laptop and we just kind of have it down. The table can be at any level, but it's so important to, especially if your day-to-day is going to be working on your laptop and working from your desk, to have it set up in a way that is very accessible and very helpful for your body. Look at it from a point of comfort, right? So sometimes we just kind of like want to just like lean back a little bit, but then we're not quite there yet, so we're hunched over. If you can sit at a 90-degree angle with your back having as much support as possible, and you can feel like your eye level is exactly where it's supposed to be with the screen, your hands and your arms have support when you are typing, this would be a properly set an arranged space for you. And honestly, when I realized that there is an actual science to how you set up your space, it was so incredibly helpful. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but I used to have the most weirdest back pains. I'd have like all these back pains and I'd wonder like, why am I feeling this type of way? And really it was from the posture of how I was sitting and the seat that I was sitting on and the table and hunching over or sitting back, all the pressure that was in different parts of my back. And someone also mentioned about taking a deep breath sometimes, or taking a breath. Sometimes as we sit, because we're just working and some of us talking, and I do apologize, by the way, if I'm talking so fast. I am a fast talker. But some of us, we're just talking, or we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We don't take time to actually, in between what we're supposed to be doing, take a breath. Taking these breaths allows our muscles to actually have access to the oxygen, and you feel, you literally feel it go through your body and relax certain places. So really look into the way that you set up your space. I always say, if you can sit in a space where you are facing the outdoors. Sometimes we can't be outside, but if you can face your window, and I don't know the weather and where you are, but here it's always pretty sunny. It's hot, but it's always pretty sunny, and just seeing that the sun is shining, it just changes my mood. Even on rainy days, I always just kind of find, just to be near the window, watching that, it just kind of helps. So yeah, look into how your setting is, how your station is, and how to make that better for you. The second thing I would always say is just shut off your screen. In between Zoom calls and in between meetings, even if it's 2 to 3 minutes, just if you've got a laptop, close it. If you've got a desktop, just close it. Just having a blank screen is incredibly, it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference. Sometimes we think, oh, let me just keep it on while I go, do whatever I'm supposed to be doing. But just closing that screen, just turning it off. BRB. Sometimes it's helpful, and honestly, it's highly recommended. I do want to share something else that I've learned, and I was so pleased that it's actually becoming a thing. I used to have this thing where I would be on my screen and I'd literally be doing this because I'd be so exhausted by staring at it. And I'd be thinking, okay, I've got a break at, 4 hours from now or 30 minutes from now or whatever it was. And then I started adapting the 20-20-20 rule. And honestly, all that means is for every 20 minutes that I'm working, like for example, doing this presentation, for every 20 minutes that I was doing the presentation or preparing it, I took 20 seconds to look at something that's almost 20 feet away. And again, it really helped to really sit next to the window. But it makes such a difference because you're aware of your time. You're aware of, because sometimes we'll be on, online and on our devices, and the time just flies by. You just look and you're like, what? 2 hours is gone, 3 hours is gone. What is going on? So the 20-20-20 rule is literally for every 20 minutes, you take 20 seconds to look at something 20 feet away, or even sometimes you can just go grab a glass of water. I don't know if it takes me 20 seconds to grab a glass of water, I can't lie. But, if it's nearby, grab, some water or have a cup of tea. I'm English, we have tea all the time. Or just, those little breaks, 20-20-20. It really makes things so much easier and just kind of gives you, if you're somebody who enjoys routine and is someone who enjoys having things planned out, just understanding, okay, in 20 minutes, I need to do this. And in another 20 minutes, I need to do this. It regulates the way the relationship that you have with your screen, and it helps you just have an overall better day, really. So the 20-20 rule, I'm going to actually leave this up for like 2 seconds. If you want to grab, a screen grab of this, or just like, take a picture of this, because this really genuinely helped me so, so much. It absolutely changed my life. So the 20-20-20 rule. Okay. The other one's it's a given. When we spoke about this as well, a couple of people mentioned this in the chat. Stand up and or move around. I find sometimes if I'm in a meeting or if I'm doing something and it's that 20 minutes, I'll literally just stand up, even while I'm in the meeting or even while I'm in the, the session. Sometimes just turn my camera off and I'll just stand up and just have a little jiggle or have a little, stretch or whatever I need in that moment. Because again, I'm sticking to the 20-20-20 rule, but it's, if you're working, for yourself and you're doing, again, working on a project, it does help just to get the blood flowing around and just to stand up. And maybe if you live in a house with stairs, just run up the stairs, run back down, just to kind of give yourself something to do where the blood is flowing and you're not stagnant, you're actually moving through. So I know it sounds easy, and I know we know these things. This isn't new information. I'm pretty sure we've heard this before, but sometimes the reminder is so helpful. I'll give you like an extra tip for this one. I have little Post-it notes that I normally keep around, and what I do is every day in the morning when I'm, setting out my calendar and stuff, what I do is I just take that Post-it note and I write something on it, and then I just kind of stick it on my laptop or stick it around me. And it's a task. Put a load of laundry in, go and water a plant, or go and grab a water bottle that's somewhere else, get something from the car. Like, I set myself these little things where I have to actually go and get it done. And it kind of helps me move around. So that one is a tip that I would like to add. The other thing is, since we're talking about screen addiction, I always say it's incredibly important to get regular eye checkups. Remember earlier I mentioned about how our parents used to always be like, if you're next to the screen for too long, you're going to end up, becoming blind, or whatever they used to say. The older we get, and the more time that we're spending on our screens, the fact of the matter is that our vision can actually be affected by this. So as much as we do our normal checkups, going to the doctors, going to the dentist, getting regular eye checkups is so important. Random, but in the UAE, we have to actually get an eye checkup before you renew your license. I'm not sure if your driver's license. I'm not sure if that happens where you are. And when I first had my license, I didn't need glasses. I was okay. And then when I went to renew it a few years later, it's about 5 years later, I went to renew it, and I really struggled with the you have to do a eye check or eye test before you get your license, and I really struggled, and I was so shocked. And the guy asked me when was the last time I had an eye checkup, and I was like, I don't know, like I forget these things. And he was like, we can't issue your license. You've got to go and get your eye checked and then come back. And then I had, I went to the opticians, and they said, yeah, one eye is different than the other and all of that stuff. And it shocked me. So I'm saying all that to say the only difference between those years was the fact that I had been spending a lot more time, doing all my work and doing all these things on my screen. And so that's why I would recommend getting regular eye checkers before it's too late. And another thing I always say is just to manage the chaos. I think these screens and these devices can be very chaotic. It really can be. And finding something that works for you in the chaos is, I think, something that is helpful. If you can find yourself a spot in the house to go to after a meeting, I call it the unplugged zone, just an area. It could be the corner of the living room, a spot, in your bedroom. It could be your bed. It could be wherever. Just a space where you can just kind of go and shut off. There is nothing playing in the background. There is no music in the background. There's no TV noise, nothing. It's just a moment or a few moments for you to kind of just collect your thoughts. Because a lot of us have found that our productivity has slipped because we're too busy managing the overall of things, getting to this meeting, following up, sending these emails, sending the message, doing all of these things. And it's like, I still have to do my job. I still have to be productive. I still have to be creative. And you struggle. So when we're taking all this information, it's important to sometimes be like, just pause and be like, okay, let me just, figure this out. Let me have a thought. Let me, breathe. Let me do what you need to do, whatever makes sense for you. But in order to be able to process everything that you've seen, because imagine how much your brain has seen in that one day, you have to give yourself some time. So just manage the chaos. And the last thing I wanted to say is, if you have your devices as something that's mandatory for work, I would highly recommend limiting unnecessary screen time. The reason why I say limiting unnecessary screen time is that sometimes we don't even realize that there's a screen on, or there's something that we've got in the background. I have a friend who says she can't sleep without, the TV being on. I had a client who said that they love, listening to music or listening to something as they're doing, their work and stuff. And it's like, sometimes it really is better just to kind of like limit it. If you need to take some notes, if there's something you need to write down, if there's something you need to do, just having, like I asked you earlier, just take notes. Use a pen and paper, have that handy. They haven't completely gone out of style or out of fashion. But even when you've, sometimes you've come back after a long day, instead of actually having to watch a show or watch something on TV, listen to something in the background maybe. But even that, I highly recommend just taking a whole pause, because honestly, sometimes it can be too much. And because it's the norm, because it's something we're so used to, because it's the easy option, we don't regulate it. It's just there. The TV is there. The laptop is there. The phone is there. The Apple Watch is there. It's just there. So it's just easy to utilize. But you'll see how much your productivity actually increases when you limit the amount of time you're using. You don't use your devices when you don't need to. And you'll feel better in the end. So those are some of the tips. I wanted to actually just share something that I wanted you all to kind of have some time to do. I wanted to give you all a bit of an assignment. Again, it's the teacher in me. I wanted you all to write down a note or a letter to yourself that consists of a healthy reminder for the way you use your screen time. Remember how I mentioned earlier about the fact that I have these Post-it notes and I have all of these other things that I kind of utilize to kind of have around me as reminders. But I would love for you just to write something down. Take some time to write it down now. And again, I would like for you to all share. But that could fit in a Post-it note and that you can kind of have. So for example, the one I had today, don't judge me, but the one I had today was put a load in the laundry. That was mine today. But just something that is active, helps you be active, or something that helps you remember. Again, it could be the 20-20-20 rule, whatever either you've learned from, the notes, the points that I made, or something that you feel is helpful. So I'll give you about 5 minutes to kind of write that down. And if you can share, and then we'll carry on. So take some time to write it down, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay. So I hope you guys all had some time to kind of think about this. I will share, I'll ask Tiffany to help me share a couple of your points. But before that, Mallory had a question. What advice would you share for people who have back-to-back meetings most days? My advice is the 20-20-20 rule. If it's back-to-back and it's like 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, shorten that 20-20-20 rule. So it's an hour every hour. So you give yourself, for every hour that you're on your screen, give yourself about 2 to 3 minutes where you have a breather. I'm not naive to the fact that we live in a fast-paced world, but you only have your body and you to get these things done. And the amount of pressure that a lot of us feel is unhealthy to perform in a fast-paced world in this way all the time. It's not fair really on our bodies. So if you just jumped into a new meeting, feel free and feel confident enough to say, can I have a moment? I've just come off a call. I just want to grab, have some water. That's okay. You're not going to lose out without, actually I found that people have been more respectful when I say, just give me a moment. I need to breathe. or just give me a moment. I've, just jumped from a call. I'm on your call right now, and I want to give you my best. In order for me to give you my best, I've got to be able to, take a breather and do the things I need to do. So feel free to have that, So yeah, Tiffany, if you could share some of the things that people have written down. I do want to hear some of the things that you've written. I'm also conscious of the time as well. Note to self: move more from the screen. 20 minutes on with 3-minute workout breaks will keep me fit. Let's keep the eyes healthy. Lashari, thank you for sharing. That is perfect. What else have we got? You only have you and your body, Nicole. Yeah, you do. We really do. And like we can't take it for granted. So our body, our mind, our spirit comes first. Everything else is a privilege and a blessing, So Nicole said, note now my computer. Can you use the treadmill desk? My building library has bike and treadmill desks for anyone to use. Yeah, that absolutely. If you've got it there, sometimes we'll buy these things and we'll have them like a new toy, and then we'll forget. I'm so guilty of that. So if you've got it there, then definitely utilize it. I'm sure your body will thank you for it. I'll have one more. I apologize if I don't say your name properly, but I'm going to break it down. Shianithia, if I've said your name wrong, I apologize, but you have a beautiful name. For me, I'll do 13 minutes of work, okay, screen time, and then catch up on a TV show, do something I really enjoy. Then I return back to the 13 minutes of work time. This is work for me. I love that. The screen time. If it's a TV show if this is every time, like every 13 minutes, there's just going from screen to screen, but doing something that you enjoy and it's working for you, I absolutely love that. So yeah, so thank you all for sharing. I do want to have a moment where, and this assignment, sorry, let me just jump back. This assignment is something that you can kind of have a look at and do from time to time. So I want to give you all a moment to, just wanted to give you a moment if you've got any questions. I think we have time for maybe 2 questions. Feel free to ask it in the chat and I can answer some of the questions. And then we also have a poll, so feel free to go on and vote. The poll is after the session to mitigate screen fatigue. I plan to, number 1, implement the 20-20-20 rule. Number 2, go outside more. Number 3, meditate. Number 4, exercise. Number 5, relax. I plan to do all of that. But do vote when you get a moment. I voted as well. And we'll have a look at the answer for the polls in a minute. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask and I will share. Oh, I'm loving the chats. I'm loving how everyone is getting involved in the polls. Anyone has any questions? If you'd like to ask me questions specifically, my contact information, I'll share that in a moment as well. So no pressure. But I do love that everyone is really sharing and taking tips. I think I'm going to go back and have a look at some of the tips myself and kind of utilize as well. Oh, I love that. Okay, so before I go on to sharing my contact details or just kind of finishing up, I did want to take a moment to say the way we use our devices is changing, and the way that society feels we should use our devices is also changing. There's this constant push to know everything, to be online, to download everything, to be in everything. But to take a moment to be involved in what is best for you, your body, your spirit, your family is incredibly important. As much as we want to do so much and give so much and be the best that we can be, and this push to, make all this money and, of course, that's amazing. But we only have this one life, and it's incredibly important that we don't let things pass by because we spent our good years and our good time on these devices. So yeah, so I just wanted to make that point. Raina asked a question. I'm having major back issues and I've asked my job to get a new chair. Do you notice in your line of work people having ergonomic issues and we see them changing for the better? I do. I actually notice these issues with young children. Like I shared earlier, I work with children 2 to 8. And when I have a 5-year-old that is like, you know, complaining about the back pain, it's really alarming. But yes, if you can get a new chair, if you can get a new table, moving things around, again, like I said, a lot of people weren't even aware that that was a problem that they could have. But if you can have a space that is helpful and safe for you and for your body, I highly recommend it. So definitely, I'm glad you took initiative and put the responsibility on your workplace to provide something that is safe and healthy for you to do your best work. I think that's incredible. I just want to share what Lashari said. She said, I challenge everyone to take the next 10 minutes to move from your desk until the next session. Absolutely. I'll be doing the same. I'll be moving around before I jump onto somebody else's session. But yes, I definitely challenge you all before we move on to the next session, or before you know, over the next day or so, to try and just do some of the things I mentioned earlier, but try to make that a routine and a part of your life. So I wanted to just keep my information on here. I've shared my email and my LinkedIn. Please do keep in touch. I wanted to say before we go, look out for an email on Monday. For the people who've entered the raffle, please check your, thank you, Tiffany. Check your inbox on Monday, the 26th of June for a post-event survey. Your feedback is key to improving the learning exchange. You could win one of 2 $50 prizes. And remember to check your spam folder too. So much goes in there. Good luck. And I thank you all for attending and for giving me your time. I know time is precious. So thank you all. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.